You all did a fantastic job of coming up with words that signify an increase or a gain, as well as words that signify a decrease or a loss. So we are going to break down this problem together so that we know if we're working with positive numbers or negative numbers on our number line. And we are going to use those words that we just found as a group to help us figure out if they are positive or negative values. So let's take a look at our second sentence in the passage. It says, later that day, right here, later that day he received $50 in cash from his mom. So Tim went back to the bank and gave the cash to the banker to deposit into the account. So if I look back at my list, I can find two words that are in my sentence and in my list. And those words are received and deposit. So both of those words are in our increase/gain list. So that's telling me that I am increasing my amount of money, or Tim is increasing his amount of money by 50. So I'm going to end up plotting positive 50. And I'm going to write that down right here. So I remember that I need to plot positive 50. Go ahead and write that down on your journal. Okay, the next sentence says, 1 week later, Tim deposited another $25 that he had earned as allowance. Take a look at that sentence that we just read and try to find two words that are in that sentence that are also in our list. Great, so hopefully you saw that the word deposit is once again in our sentence and the word earned. Both of those words are in our increase or gain list. So that means that we are adding another $25 to Tim's bank account, and we're plotting positive 25. Okay, up next it says, the next month, Tim asked his dad for permission to withdraw $35 to buy a new video game. Take a look at the list. Try to see if you see any word that's in the sentence that's also in our list. So you might notice that this time we're working with a word that's in our decrease or lose column, and that's the word withdraw. So that means that we are taking away $35 from Tim's bank account, and we need to plot negative 35 on our number line. So let's write that down in our journal, negative 35, so we do not forget to plot that. And then finally, the next sentence says, Tim's dad explained that the bank would charge $5 for each withdrawal from the savings account, and that each withdrawal and charge results in a debit to the account. So take one final look at our list, see if you see any similar words between the sentence and the list. Hopefully you notice that we have a new word that we haven't seen yet in our passage, charge, and that's in the decrease list. So that means that we're taking another $5 away from his account, and we need to plot negative 5 on our number line. So let's write that down in our list. Great. So we have broken down our passage. Now we're ready to actually draw our number line and plot each one of these points. So on your journal, please draw a nice long number line with an arrow on each side. And then in the middle, you can go ahead and plot 0. Now, our number line would have to be really, really, really long if we had a scale of 1. So if this just said 1, 2, 3, 4, it would have to be really long because we know that we need to plot positive 50. So we'd have to make 50 marks on each side of the line. We don't want to do that. That's going to take us a really long time. So we can actually change our scale. We can count by tens, and then when we are plotting a number that doesn't end in a 0, we can find that number between two of our hash marks. So let's get started with that. you're going to copy down what I do in your journal, and I'll talk us through it so that we understand our scale a little bit better. So as I just said, we're going to use a scale of 10. So that means that every mark is going to represent plus or minus 10. So that first mark will be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. And 50 is the biggest number that I have to plot in my list, so I don't have to go any further than 50. I can stop right there. I can't forget to I can't forget to write the hash marks on the left side of my 0, which we know from yesterday are negative numbers. So let's go ahead and write negative 10, negative 20, negative 30, negative 40, and finally negative 50. Okay, so we need to plot positive 50. That's an easy one because that's already one of our hash marks, so all we need to do is plot a point there. So we can just draw a little circle over a hash mark to show that we're plotting that point. The next one that we need to plot is positive 25. We don't have 25 as a hash mark on our number line, but we do know where 25 falls on a number line. We know that it's between 20 and 30. So if we look at the hash marks 20 and 30, we can plot a point right between the two to represent 25. The next number that we have to plot is negative 35. So once again, I don't have negative 35 on here, but I know that 35 falls between 30 and 40. So I'm going to infer that negative 35 is going to fall between negative 30 and negative 40. So I'm going to plot that point right here and make sure that you have these 3 points plotted so far. And then finally, I need to plot negative 5. I know that positive 5 is between 0 and 10, so I can infer that negative 5 is between 0 and negative 10. So I'm going to put that point right between 0 and negative 10. Great. So we have completed A, where it says draw a number line and represent each transaction described above on the same number line. Now we can look at B. It says place a point that represents the amount of money in Tim's account when he first opened it. So that means that when he first opened it, he didn't have any money in it until he later deposited some money into it. So if I don't have any money, that means that I have $0. So I can go ahead and plot the point 0. Great. So now we have completed the entire problem, and we are ready to move on to our next problem. Okay, we're going to read our problem together, and then you are going to write down one word that represents an increase or a gain on our next slide. Then we will go through the problem together. So while I'm reading this aloud, be looking for one word that represents an increase or gain. Alonzo loves to jump off of cliffs into the ocean. He is standing 15 feet above sea level and 20 feet above the ocean floor. Sea level represents an elevation of 0 feet. What are 2 ways to describe the elevation of the ocean floor? So remember, you're looking for a word that signifies an increase or a gain or a positive value. Go ahead and complete this question, and I'll see you back here. Okay, great job. Let's start by going through this problem together. So I'm hoping that you identified the word above because that means that it is positive 15 feet or positive 20 feet. If it said the word below, we'd most likely be working with negative numbers because we know that negative numbers are below 0 and positive numbers are above 0 or greater than 0. We are trying to figure out what are two ways to describe the elevation of the ocean floor. So we can get started by writing our number line and then labeling the information that we have so far. Since we're working with sea level, I'm going to actually draw my number line vertically instead of horizontally. So that means that it's going to go up and down rather than left to right. So go ahead in your journal, start drawing your number line. If you've already drawn a horizontal number line, I would like you to change it to a vertical one. So what we already know is that Alonzo is standing 15 feet above sea level and 20 feet above the ocean floor. We know that sea level represents an elevation of 0 feet. So let's put 0 in the middle of our number line. And let's write right next to it, sea level. Okay. So we know that he is 15 feet above sea level and 20 feet above the ocean floor. Well, we don't know where the ocean floor is yet, so we can right now plot where he is above sea level, and then we can figure out what our remaining spot to plot is. So let's make our hash marks and let's have a scale of 5 instead of having a scale of 1 so that we don't have to have quite as many hash marks. So that means that I'm going to have positive 5, positive 10, positive 15, and positive 20. I can stop at 20 because that's the biggest number that I have in my problem. And then on under 0, I have negative 5, negative 10, negative 15, and negative 20. So it says that he is 15 feet above sea level. We know that sea level is 0, so that means that we are going to be plotting positive 15 because it's 15 feet above sea level. And we said that above is one of those increase or positive words. So let's plot positive 15 up here. Great. So the final point that we have to plot is where he is standing above the ocean floor. So it says he's standing 20 feet above the ocean floor. Now we don't know where the ocean floor is, so we need to maybe count 20 backwards from 15. So I'm going to start at 15 and I'm going to count 20 spaces backwards. If you need to use a separate number line to do this, you can. You can draw a number line with all of the hash marks from negative 20 through positive 20, or you can do this in your head by going 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, and continuing to do that until you count 20 spaces backwards. Take a moment to think about this to yourself. We're going to take a poll on where we think we should plot this next point to represent where the ocean floor is. So what is 20 less than 15? Okay, so if you counted 20 spaces backwards from 15, you would have landed on negative 5. So we are going to write negative 5 here and represent that as the ocean floor. If he is standing 20 feet above the ocean floor, that means that we need to think about negative 5 plus 20. So I can draw this as 20 minus 5, and my answer is 15. So that looks like it's right because it says he's standing 15 feet above sea level and 20 feet above the ocean floor, and we've already plotted Alonzo at 15 feet of elevation. So we did that correctly. The final thing we need to think about is how can we say what the elevation of the ocean floor is? Should we say that it's at 5 feet? No, because it's not at 5 feet. We see that it's down here at negative 5 feet. So we can say it is at negative 5 feet elevation. And we could say that it's at a depth, which means under or below a depth of 5 feet. That means that it's 5 feet below zero. So it's at a depth of 5 feet. You'll notice that I did not say it's at a depth of negative 5 feet because I'm actually thinking about my absolute value here of negative 5. So what is the distance below zero? It's 5 feet below zero.